All right, welcome to day 2 of Article of the Week. Our article is titled Halloween, the Hidden History. Yesterday you did a great job reading the article and taking some fantastic Cornell notes. You also wrote a beautiful objective summary. Those are both very important skills for 6th grade. Finding text evidence is also a very important skill for 6th grade, and that's our focus today. In order to complete the assignment, you should have a paper copy of the article on your desk, a highlighter, and a pencil. So if you don't have those 3 things, do that. Make sure you have those before we move forward with this video. Just to recap what we read yesterday, remember this is all about the history of Halloween, how it evolved into the holiday it is today. There was a little introduction, and then we moved into the Celtics, the people that lived in Europe that created a celebration or a festival to end the harvest called Samhain, and they believed in life after death, and they believed that there were evil spirits, and they wanted to scare them off, and that they would dress up in these really scary costumes and light these huge bonfires, but they also wanted to please them, so they left out treats of food and drink. Then we read about the Catholic Church, how the Pope at the time created a holiday on November 1st called All Saints' Day, and they wanted to kind of replace the Celtics' Samhain, so they created All Saints' Day, but they still kept some of the traditions with the bonfires and people dressing up in costumes as angels, saints, and devils. And then coming to America, the section was about how these traditions came to our country through the immigrants from Europe and through the Native American cultures, and how they kind of blended together, and they created celebrations and told ghost stories, just as some of the cultures from Native Americans and the immigrants did. And finally, the final section is Halloween Today, talks about how the traditions evolved into how we celebrate Halloween today. And there was a nice chart here that talked about the different ways that people celebrate Halloween in our present day. So that's what we read yesterday, and what you took notes on. Today we are going to look for some specific pieces of text evidence using these directions here, and we're going to make sure that you do 2 things. You're going to highlight the evidence with the highlighter, and you're going to use your pencil to write the number of the question in the margin right next to the highlight, so you know, so I know and you know the question that matches the evidence. Okay, so we'll start with number 1. Remember, the first 4 are pretty easy. It's called explicit evidence. That means you can find it right there in the text. You don't have to use any inferencing skills. It's right there. You just have to look for it, put your finger on it, and you can highlight it with your highlighter. So number 1 is find the sentence that tells where the Celts lived besides Ireland. So we know they lived in Ireland, but the question is asking us to find a piece of evidence that tells where they lived besides Ireland. So if we go back, obviously we're going to want to go to the section called the Celtics to find this evidence. And if we skim, I see Ireland here, but if I keep reading, it says they also lived in the United Kingdom and northern France. So we're going to take your highlighter, highlight that sentence, and then with your pencil in the margin over here to the left, write a number 1. I can't write with a pencil, obviously, because mine's digital, so I'm going to add it as a comment, number 1. And there we go. We have the first one done. Super simple. Number 2, find the sentence that tells what Samhain marked besides the end of the harvest season. What it marked besides the end of the harvest season. That's still in the Celtic section because they are the people that celebrated this festival. And if you skim it, I'm reading it, marked the end of the harvest season. It also marked the end of summer when the warm sun would go to bed earlier, and the beginning of winter when death would scurry through the crops like the Grim Reaper. So the end of summer and the beginning of winter is what it also marked. So we're going to highlight that long sentence and number that number 2. Highlight that yellow so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, that's number 2. All right, we're going to move on to number 3. Find the sentence that tells who designated November 1st as All Saints' Day. So All Saints' Day, remember that had to do with the church. So we're going to go to the Catholic Church section, and we're going to skim. I see All Saints' Day right here. And if I back up, it says in AD 837, Pope Gregory designated November 1st as All Saints' Day in Rome and throughout Europe. So we're going to highlight that first sentence, and we're also going to number it number 3. That is the third piece of evidence. And we're going to go back to number 4. Find the sentence that tells how the Christians celebrated All Souls' Day. So that's All Saints' Day, but we're going to keep going. And it says All Souls' Day. It says this holy day could commemorate the dead in a more Christian manner. In fact, All Souls' Day was celebrated in a similar way. It says the faithful Christians had bonfires as big as the sky and parades that danced through the streets. They dressed up as angels, saints, and devils. So all of that is evidence that shows how they celebrated All Souls' Day. We're going to highlight that, and we're going to number that number 4 in the margin. All right. So that's the easy part, finding the explicit text evidence. It's right there in the text. We're going to move on to the second half where we're going to have to find evidence based on inferences drawn from the text. So we're going to use clues. We're going to make inferences. It's not as easy to find as explicit evidence. Okay? So number 5 says, find a piece of evidence in the article that would tell you that the Celts believed in life after death. So what clues can we find that show us the Celts believed in life after death? So we're going to go back to the Celtic section. I'm going to look in the second paragraph. It says, the Celtic people believed that the past and present intermingled at this time, and the spirits of the dead would come visit the living. I'm going to highlight that because that is a clue. We can make an inference that they believed in life after death because of this evidence right here. It says they believed that the spirits of the dead would come visit the living. So we're going to highlight that one, and we're going to number that one number 5 as the 5th piece of evidence, the 5th question. All right, moving on to number 6, it says find 2 pieces of evidence that suggest that the Celts were fearful of the dead coming to visit. They were scared. So we need to find 2 pieces of evidence that show they were scared of the spirits of the dead. So if we keep reading, it says to ward off these spirits, that means to keep them away. When you ward something off, it means you're scared of it. So the Celts would dress up in frightening costumes and build massive bonfires. That's one piece of evidence right there. So let's highlight that one. And we're going to number that one number 6. But we need to find 2. That's only 1. So if we keep reading, treats of food and drink were set out to placate the spirits. Remember, placate means to make happy. So if you're scared of something, sometimes you want to please it. So because you're scared of it, you want to please it. So that would also show that they were scared of the spirits of the dead. So we want to highlight that also because that's our second piece of evidence Number 6. That's another piece of evidence that shows they were scared of the spirits of the dead. All right, there's a lot that we've highlighted in the Celtic section. Let's go back to number 7. It says, find 2 sentences that tell you that some Europeans and Native Americans were friendly to one another. Okay, so we're going to go into, I believe that was in the Coming to America section. I remember the Native Americans were mentioned here. It says, once the Europeans began to settle in the New World, they began sharing many of their cultures and beliefs with the Native Americans. There's a piece of evidence right there. Remember, we're looking for evidence that shows they were friendly to one another. And if they shared their cultures and their beliefs, that if you share something that shows you're friendly. So we're going to highlight that one and number it number 7. But that's only one piece of evidence. The question asked for 2 sentences. Let's keep reading. The cultures mix together like a giant bowl of soup. Okay, when you share something and you mix something together, obviously you're being friendly. And so that's another good example of showing how the cultures, how the Europeans were friendly with the Native Americans. So we're going to highlight that second sentence also. Number it a number 7. All right. We have one more question. It says, find 2 sentences that tell you that retail shops might be very busy in October. A retail shop is just a store that sells things, like Target is a retail shop, or Walmart. You get the idea. So we need to find 2 sentences that show they might be very busy during the month of October. So that's probably in Halloween today. That's when retail stores are popular today. So if we're going to look through this section, I see this very last paragraph. It says, each year Americans spend about $9 billion on Halloween costumes, decorations, and candy. That would probably show that they were busy. If they're selling that much merchandise, $9 billion, that we can make an inference there that they're busy. We're going to highlight that and number that, number 8. But it asked us for 2 sentences. That's only one. So let's back up and see if we can find another sentence. It's such a popular holiday that it has become the 2nd largest holiday for stores, right behind Christmas. We can make an inference that they're busy if it's the 2nd largest holiday for stores. So we're going to highlight that one because we can make a good inference there that number 8, also number that 8, please. That also helps us make an inference that they're busy, being the 2nd largest holiday. So you should have all of your evidence highlighted and numbered. You can see mine, of course, is done digitally. You should have yours done in pencil. And when you're done with that, with highlighting your evidence, make sure that you raise your hand and hand me your paper so that I can check you off for your assignment today. Good job.